it's on sale, folks. Just make sure you're getting your ounces. That's week in, week out. Save some of your currency from your check, and just have discipline and just keep buying ounces. Just keep stacking, and just wait this out. It's just a matter of a few years, and this thing's going to wash away, and you'll see anybody who's stacking ounces is going to be sitting pretty. That's personally what I'm doing. So. And that's what I know Mike is doing, and that's what a lot of the other folks here at goldsilver.com, you'd be surprised. I mean, you call up the sales reps here at goldsilver.com, the folks are investors themselves, so you're getting direct, first-hand experience and knowledge from these folks. Obviously I'm biased, but I really do believe that we have a staff here that's very well-versed in what's going on because they're doing it firsthand.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think when the price starts to run, see, here's the thing. Here's the problem with being educated on this issue. When you understand Jeff Christian's testimony at the March 2010 CFTC hearing in which he admitted to 100-to-1 paper manipulation of gold and silver, meaning for every 1 ounce of silver and gold out there in circulation, there's 100 ounces of paper. He said it. It's real. It's on the record. Once you know that, and then once you see what's happening on the COMEX and you see this kind of trading, I think last week there was over 1 billion ounces of silver that traded on one of the days, which is more than is mined out of the ground all year. So once you have this education, you run the risk of being so committed to sharing the information that to outsiders or to those that don't understand the fundamentals, it starts to sound like a religion. It starts to sound like we are all proselytizing and have gone through some sort of brainwashing where we just love silver so much that we can't be realistic about it. And that's really not the case. Not at 35 or even $50.
Yeah, no, not at all. I mean, that's where that nasty term gold bug comes from, right? Is that these folks that, survived the last bull market, they were still around saying that gold's the great investment of all time. Look, silver and gold are in their cycle right now. They are going to do incredibly well in this cycle. That's what we believe. But eventually, someday, it'll be time to go to some other asset class. But at this point, they're dirt cheap, just given the fundamentals. So I just, when I talk to other folks, I just try to, it's difficult because you know so much and you want to be able to communicate it, but you got to do it in bite-sized chunks, right? You can't just, divulge everything because people are going to be overwhelmed and they're going to put up defense shields.
Right.
So you have to start out slow. Just rip a dollar in half and say, well, what is the half of this dollar going to get me? Nothing. Right. Oh, now let me put a piece of tape on it. Now it's money. But this is crazy. I mean, the emperor has no clothes, and everyone's going to figure it out sooner or later. And then what are we going to do?
Right.
We're going to run back to what we've always done, which is go back to real money.
And it's already happening. We're seeing states make a move now to introduce gold and silver as currency that will not be taxed with capital gains, and we're seeing it happen. We are seeing the death of our currency, the paper currency, happen right before us. And one of my favorite people in the world in terms of his analysis and his brilliance is Jim Willey, who likes to say that when we see this thing crash, when we see this fraud revealed, it is going to be the biggest fraud in the history of the world when this thing is finally revealed. And it's unraveling. It's going to unravel because the Fed keeps printing money, and they can say that there's not going to be a QE3, but we all know that there is. Whether it's hidden or not, they're going to do it because nobody else is going to buy these T-bills and bonds.
Right. Yeah. No, never listen to what they say. Just simply watch their actions. It's that simple. Whatever they say, I mean, that's irrelevant. It's watch their actions. What are they doing? They're simply eating their own debt. So once that happens, the cards are pretty much you're done. That's it. This is gonna fold eventually. It's just a matter of time.
Right. And to your point, just keep dollar cost averaging. Just keep buying in your regular intervals regardless of price, and over time you're going to do just fine.
That's it. I mean, it's that simple. Don't get really caught up emotionally with all the small time stories and stuff. Just keep your eye on the big picture. Keep your eye on the prize, which is just hold money while this stuff shakes out. It's that simple.
Okay, well, let me ask you this one last question before we let you go, James. The new Hong Kong Commodities Exchange, what do you think this is going to do, or is it going to have any discernible effect in the short term on this gulag casino that we see in this country?
That's a good question. I wish, if I worked on an exchange, I'd probably be able to give you a more intelligent answer. I can tell you about Hong Kong is personally I went there to vet out the vault storage facility that we offer to our customers at goldsilver.com. I went to the Brinks facility in Hong Kong and actually vetted it, and we've started it, and we're now, storing, helping people, purchase gold and silver, ship it over there, and store it segregated, in Hong Kong. What I can tell you on the ground in Hong Kong is that it's not hard to find gold. You can find gold almost anywhere in Hong Kong, especially with the jewelry district. It's amazing how much gold is there. But you cannot, and it's very difficult. I mean, you can in special cases, but I challenge most people out there to go out there, if they live in Hong Kong. I think they could at least, I think they would be able to say that this is true, that it's very difficult to find investment-grade silver. Very, very hard. So as far as, for Hong Kong, as far as the general area, we always take it for granted in the United States. We think silver is pretty easy to get. In Asia, not so. But the point that you're asking as far as the COMEX is concerned, what type of change that will occur, that's a good question. I think the question will be, who is running that show? And are they controlled more or less by J.P. Morgan, the powers that be in the New York banking facilities, or is it going to be, more of an Eastern Bloc? If it's more of an Eastern Bloc, then potential is that it will rival, eventually. If it's not, then it'll just be another paper charade.
Yeah, it's a good point. Who's behind that thing? And, maybe some of our viewers here will have the answer to that, and they can weigh in the comments below. I'm curious to know that as well. The one thing that I'm thinking, though, is that the whole world is getting tired of these broken paper promises of the Federal Reserve and the U.S., the U.S. dollar currency. So I think we're seeing the Asian buyers are stepping up. I think that they're just going to keep demanding delivery of physical, whether it's on the COMEX or through the SLV. So
the question is, do you think China's going to put up with this? China's got pride. They're a very proud culture. They're not going to put up with New York bankers or Western bankers pushing them around. Not a chance. China is now the number one miner in both gold and silver. They're not reporting anything. They're just digging gold and silver at will out of the ground as much as they can. They are not reporting to anybody. China is its own. They're their own national interest. They're taking care of themselves, and they will. So whatever the Western banks try to do, China's got its own sovereignty. It's going to go after its own, and long term that'll be revealed. Personally, how I feel, there's no way they're going to put up with this. China has its own sovereign will. I think that they're going to go after, as much gold and silver as they can, so they can step to the table, and be able to have some leverage.
Yeah, no, you're right. And they just announced, I think, a week or two back that they want to get out of as many as $2 trillion of their USD holdings. I mean, so no, you're right. That was
pretty bold. Yeah, that was pretty amazing. They said that.
Yeah, it's no secret. They are tired of this. They're tired of the broken paper promises, and the whole world is. So now that the whole world wakes up to, what, I think at the end of the day, I think it's sadly this is true for a number of different issues, including the military-industrial complex and 3 unconstitutional wars, but I don't think the average American has woken up to any of this stuff we're talking about, whereas we are seeing some of these Asian cultures wake up.
Yeah, well, how could they, right? I mean, look at the average American. What do they live through? I mean, think about their life, as far as what they've experienced. I mean, it's been nothing but cupcakes and like lollipops. I mean, the difficulty of the life in America in the last 40 years has been absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
There's been no real problems. I mean, in terms of there's been scare, like the government likes to scare us, but like if you think about day-to-day life, like it's been pretty smooth.
Yeah.
But if you look at these other countries, no, they've had serious currency crises. I mean, I personally lived in Argentina in 2004 and 5 and saw the after effects of that. That was enough. That changed my mind forever. That changed my life. To see that government can do that to its own people and not care, and just basically just go out there and steal their money, and just watch the after effects of what that does to a country. To know that type of evil exists. Once you know that, then that's fine. Then you just got to hedge your bets against it.
Yeah, there's people lost everything overnight.
Yeah. Exactly, and more or less that's what's happening here, just in slower motion. Absolutely nothing. There's been no problem.
Absolutely right. And what did you see in grocery stores and things like that when the currency was devalued in Argentina?
I got there in 2004, and I was seeing downtown where still there was iron gates around the banks. Citibank, you had to go through like the security system to get in, and it was surrounded by like iron gates that are like 6 feet high. And people go there religiously at lunch, take pots and pans, go bang on that thing all day. They just go up there and throw eggs at it or have graffiti. People got their money taken from them, basically. I mean, they had dollars in the bank. The government said, no, you don't get dollars. We're converting those to pesos, and you're losing, 60% of your savings. Sorry. And move on to the next one. That's what happened, and I saw people having to go back to work who shouldn't have to go back to work. People who spent their entire life producing things. And then they got basically taken by a paper charade.
Yeah, and you're right. It's the same thing we're seeing here in slow motion. But, as you mentioned, I mean, as long as people have American Idol, Dancing with the Stars, and $5 footlongs, I mean, they're thrilled.
The propaganda is so thick. I mean, it's unbelievable. We've never had a civilization in the world, in the history of the world, where propaganda was this thick. And just the amount of distractions out there. I mean, to keep your eye on the ball, on the big picture, is so difficult. And I mean, just think about the average person out there, you know? I mean, to separate themselves from that propaganda thick matrix and to actually step out and look at the truth, it's difficult.
You know, it's interesting you say that, because I completely agree, and I think that in some of my other videos I've made this point that it's really enraging too, because I do think that the average American, as thick as the propaganda is culpable and is willfully ignorant at this point if they're not recognizing what's happening, because there is no justification for 3 unconstitutional wars, especially this most recent one, with Libya, when Congress wasn't even consulted. But the American people don't care, and at the end of the day, if they don't care, how are they ever going to get informed? If they don't care about their own politics and their own government, how in the world are they going to get informed about sound money and gold and silver, James?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a question about principles. You know, once you start sacrificing your principles, you know, you get the repercussions. You get what your just deserve is. The one thing to remember too is that, you know, there are people out there who just will not listen. They will refuse to listen. Do not let them take your energy. Do not let them steal your soul. You know, there's only so many ears that can hear this.
Yep.
Just move on to the next one. The next set of ears willing to listen is there. So just keep talking. Well
said, and I completely agree. James Anderson from goldsilver.com. Couldn't thank you enough for your time. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was really nice. It was good talking to you. I'm pleased that you had me on. It was very cool.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for your time.
Keep up the great work, Sean.
Oh, thanks, James. Let's talk again soon.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. And hang in there, because there's a lot of shills and turncoats in our midst, and don't let them contribute to your angst and help shake you from your position. Good night.